Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It was a tragedy that my mom died on December 7th, 1968, at the age of 42. But tonight, we celebrate the artful life of Marie von Ohlen. Because I was only 12 when my mom died, I pieced together the information that I'm sharing with you from discussions from my brothers, family members, and I also found a lot of information in Nancy Hopp's book about Ruth Van Sickle Ford, who was my mother's mentor. I knew that these two women had painted together, but I didn't really fully understand the depth of the association. So Nancy's book really put it all together for me. And my mother is mentioned in her book, and I want to read that part to you now. Nancy studied Ruth Van Sickle Ford extensively. All right, here's my book marker. Okay. Ruth Van Sickle Ford organized an annual art show hosted by the Old Second National Bank of Aurora to commemorate the bank's anniversary. The paintings were always available for sale and quickly purchased by collectors and local customers of the bank. An oversized brochure with a plaid background was printed to introduce our second annual art show in 1964. Under the direction of Ruth Van Sickle Ford. The 13 exhibitors included Don Berman, Robert Clark, Dorothy Tuma, Jane Reckinger-Smith, Marie von Ohlen, Paul Hamlin, and Bill Maulis. And professionals on the roster were Irving Shapiro, Victor Eng, Alex Jaworski, and Frank Beatty. So my mother was exhibited among some nice artists there. And I believe that some of the works that are hanging here could have been part of the exhibit. As we cleaned them, there were labels on the backside, so that's quite possible. My mother first met Ruth Van Sickle Ford at the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts right around 1942 to 1945. And Ruth taught my mother watercolor art. And then later, Ruth Van Sickle Ford went on to be the first female to head the academy. And that was really a big deal at that time, considering that my mom was dissuaded from studying architecture because no women were being hired as architects at that time. But my mother did excel in school and went on to work at the Fair store, commuting into downtown Chicago. She worked in the advertising department until the day she married. Then she was required to quit her job, as women were expected to stay home and devote their lives to their husbands and children. But my mother was a trailblazer, raising 4 children while also pursuing her art. So in the 1950s, my mother joined the Aurora Art League, which was also led by Ruth Van Sickle Ford, and they frequently painted together. So you will see Ruth Van Sickle Ford's influence coming on my mother's work. So I want to kind of just go around and talk about the paintings, and find out. They're relatives. This, I believe, is an early work, just because of the lack of definition and detail that she usually renders in her paintings. This one is a family favorite. This one belongs to my brother Todd, and we've named it Luchow's, which was a famous...
Excuse me, can you move over about 2 inches in her, too?
So we call this Luchow's, which was a famous German restaurant in New York City. My mother took life drawing classes at the academy, and so I love how she does her human figures, which is really hard to get right. But you know, here's the alpha female kind of leading the pack. There's people around her are animated. There's the man looking off to the side, one guy's rubbing his eyes, they're in conversation, and there's just a lot of action going on in this work. So it's really a nice family favorite. And then this we're not sure if it's unfinished or whether it's just the kind of how she renders sunlight on a building. But I like that it kind of shows her how she does things. And if you're my yoga student, you may recognize this as the backdrop of my green screen from my yoga classes. So. All right. When she painted with the Aurora Art League, they sometimes worked off of travel brochures. So this is one of the pieces that is up for sale. And I think it's an Italian villa, but I really like how she has the windows open and yeah. And then this one is for sale also. A lot more details. You can tell it's a later work. And this one was gifted to me from a relative. And when it came in, it had the original frame, probably back from 1950 or 60. But anyway, my dad used to make the frames, and they were all pickled oak. And then my mom had just a basic white frame around it. And so it was interesting to take them apart. The backing was cardboard that she had reused from my dad's business. So, both of my parents were Depression babies. So they were very, very frugal. And that was back before they learned about acid-free, backings and things like that. So we did a restoration and reframing on that one. This one, I think, is from a book. I think it might be from Haiti, because Ruth Van Sickle Ford traveled quite extensively. And she went to Haiti and brought back pictures and books and postcards. But I really like how she renders the exhaust. You can see back behind it. So it's this one is also for sale. Let's see. Here's another family favorite. This was gifted to my cousin Jerry and Kathy when they got married. And I just love, this really showcases her love of architecture, to paint that rotunda. I like how the lines kind of work up into a point in the corner. And then I believe this is a glass jar. So this is a recurring theme in her artwork. On the invitation to this show, there is another piece that it's a picture of a watercolor that I donated a couple years ago to Waubonsee. It's hanging in the junction of Von Ohlen and Bodie Hall. But it also has a glass that you can see through. So I believe that's what it is. So anyway, this is a very much loved watercolor from my cousins Jerry and Kathy. I don't know where they are. Very detailed. It's really hard to get detail out of watercolor. Yeah, and there's just so much going on here. My mom had kind of a theme with monuments. We've probably seen 1, 2, 3 monuments so far. So it's kind of a recurring theme is her monuments. And then this one, I really love her use of perspective. The angles are correct. It's really hard to get that right. This one is also for sale. Another kind of European offering there. It's kind of a fun little piece. She probably got that out of a travel guide. When she painted with Ruth Van Sickle Ford, they would often go into Geneva or Batavia to paint in plein air, which means they would sit in the yard and paint. And so my brother Todd tells the story. All the women that were painting at that time brought their kids, and he was the oldest one, so he was in charge of all the kids while the women went to paint. Yeah. Yes. Yes. A job he.
I didn't keep them from running around much. We were still running around in bobbing.
Yeah. So this is, you might recognize it as State Street in Geneva, where the kind of that hill is. And my father used to love to go to the Little Owl, which I think was right there as well. But I love the old houses and all the detail in the windows. You can see what the vendors are selling, and it's just a very special piece. My dad had this at his place for a very long time, and so that's very well loved. So we move on. This also belongs to my brother Todd. I might have to arm wrestle him for it someday. But I love the gas stations. It's just like a little snippet out of the 50s. There's the glass here and all of the detail. And as I was cleaning it, I see that there's like a father-daughter getting gas for their lawnmower. And I like to think that that was me and my dad at the gas station. And he's just about ready. Been a good girl, and he's going to buy me a bottle of pop. Yeah. So this is one of the family favorites. This is in Geneva, so I'm sure this was plein air. Recently, I was shopping in Geneva, and I specifically went to find this piece of work. And it is right across from the courthouse. So it is 202 South 3rd Street. So it's very interesting, and it's still a store, still has stuff in it. There's still the brick around the edge, and it's very recognizable. All right, moving on. This is another one of my favorite gas stations. We don't know, but we had a family friend who owned a gas station. Lou Witt owned Witt Station behind Stoney's. And it might be that one. We're not sure, but it might be. But we call it Ed and Gil's. She's got Ed and Gil's here, and you can see what's going on inside with the reflections, little restrooms there. But I just love the colors, and this is another one of my favorites. All right. Well, where am I going to move you guys now? All right. My mom painted a lot of houses, and I can only assume that this was in Geneva somewhere as well. But I probably have 10 more houses that she did. Her dad, well, actually, she grew up in a Sears home that her dad built, and I always wondered if that was kind of what influenced her to want to paint houses. But this is a really nice rendition. It looks like the American Dream. And I think on the back of it, she had kind of written that, the American Dream, which there it is, a white house with a picket fence. This belongs to my cousins, Jerry and Kathy, and they gave it to their son. My mother, or Kathy, was pregnant with her son at the time my mom died. So she has a painting for her son to kind of remember that. All right. This one is, I'm kind of surprised it made it, but this one had a rough life. And I know it's an early work. I can tell because of the awkwardness of the human figure, and there's kind of some awkwardness going on here with the stairs. But it's a fascinating story. I keep wondering, what's going on? Why is she afraid? What's happening? And is this man coming towards her or moving away? And I keep making up stories every time I see this. And so it's my mother kept it for all her adult life, so it must have been important to her. So we touched it up, we gave it a new life, and now it's on the road. So here we go. And then this one really is our all-time favorite. This belongs to my brother Neil, and it is Times Square in downtown New York. And I call it Happiness to Millions because that's what she has written there. But I just love her rendering. You can tell the architecture is spot on, so she's really good at that. But her rendering of the rain and how the rain kind of has that fuzzy reflection. I really like the kind of the dark figures against the light, how she kind of brings the eye in with the figures on the side. And it's really a fantastic piece. It's big, it's bold, and it's just fantastic. So thank you, Neil, for submitting that for exhibit. So we can't talk about the paintings and not also talk about the scholarship. So when my mom died, my dad started the very first scholarship, the Marie E. von Ohlen Memorial Scholarship. So while he was in office as the first president of the board, he saved all of his travel expenses, his reimbursements, and any money that he made, and he put that towards the scholarship. So it's now an endowment, and it's awarded to 2 outstanding freshmen every year. And scholarships provide much-needed money for tuition. They can buy books. And it really takes a lot of financial pressure off of the students. And for many recipients, earning a scholarship is their only path to higher education and a better future. And I always like to talk about Penny Diligianis. I don't know if she is still here or not. But I invite Penny to the Scholarship Fest. She received the Marie E. von Ohlen Scholarship back in 1984. And she shared with me that really gave her the confidence to go on to receive several bachelor's and master's degrees. And now Penny is a nonprofit leader, both nationally and internationally. And she's really a great example of what scholarships can do to propel careers. This exhibit is also a fundraiser. I have selected, I say bravely selected, watercolors to sell. I know I can't ever replace them, so it was difficult to make that decision. But I know in my heart that my mother would be thrilled to see the scholarship in her name, to have all the money go into that. So if you don't want to buy a watercolor, you can still donate into the scholarship if that is in your heart. So if you are wanting to buy a watercolor or to donate to the fund, you just talk to me, and we'll get that done. So there are several people I want to thank for this wonderful exhibit here at the Arrowhead Gallery. On our first meeting, Dr. Knettel shared my vision, and he opened the pathway for this exhibit by putting me in touch with Melinda Tejada, Emma Donatello, and Stephanie Wenmacher, who Stephanie created those beautiful invitations, by the way. And then our art coordinator, who we met earlier, Fawn Clark Peterson, was a real joy to work with. And I think that she really picked the very best of my mother's talent and showcased it in a really lovely way. I'm just thrilled with how this all turned out. And then Denise Crosby, if you are here, thank you for the article in Sunday's Beacon News. And you told the story beautifully of my mother and her connection to Waubonsee. So thank you all for giving this project your best work. Then I really want to express my sincere gratitude to my husband, Lyle Rosine. Lyle has matted, framed, or touched every watercolor that you see here. And I'm just so impressed. He would finish something and show me, and I'd be like, oh my gosh. So he just really did a fabulous job. And working on this project together really bonds us and keeps our mother alive in our hearts. So I hope that my mother's artful life inspires you in a meaningful way. Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?
All right. So was your dad always really supportive of your mom's artwork from the start?
Yeah, he's like, go paint, go paint. So yeah, they made arrangements. We were either at our grandma's house or something, but yeah, he wanted her to paint. And actually, they had plans for when they retired. They were going to move to Chicago. And my mom was going to join the art scene there, and they were just going to have a cultural life. And, you know, they got robbed of that. But, yeah, my dad loved my mother's artwork.
My mom sometimes neglected household chores. Just wanted to paint. So when dishwashers first came out, my dad bought her a dishwasher.
Very supportive. He didn't make our kids do it. And then, did you recognize, as kids, did you recognize her talent? Because she did die young, and you were young. Did you recognize how talented she was at the time, or was it just mom painting?
I think, I was a kid. Yeah. It really was, after, gosh, I don't know. After she died and I got out of college, that I kind of figured that I started noticing that she was a good artist.
Ellen, I have a question.
Yes.
As you were working on all of these pieces, did you create high-res digital files of them all?
Probably not. I have pictures of them all on my cell phone, which.
Not so high-res. I'm just thinking if you had digital files of them all, then you sell a piece and you're like, oh, I kind of regret letting that one go. A giclée print done with archival inks and archival papers, it's just as good as new.
Yeah. Wow.
It's reproduction, you have to say that. But just saying. So before they go.
All right. Good suggestion. Thank you, Mike. All right. Anything else? Okay. Oh, the Yugoslavian woman? Yeah, that one's really sweet. My dad just always had that at his house. It was usually right by the front door. And it's just a sweet little picture. Yeah, and so we redid that one, and it hangs now in our front entranceway. But it's just, just a little sweet picture. Hi, Vicki.
What was that monument in the right corner there with the black monument?
I don't know. But, there's that monument theme again. But what also is interesting about this one is it's a night scene. And so I call it date night because there's, And but I love how she uses the light, gets that, and again, the reflections of the light. She was good at setting a mood, I think. But it's hard to know exactly where things are. So we'll Google some things, and sometimes we get it, and sometimes we don't.
Did she have a chance to travel to Europe?
No, she was raising kids. Where? Paris? Yeah, it could very well
I can't remember the
be.
name of the monument, but I stood in front of it. I just don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, and it could very well be. She didn't date anything. She didn't name anything. She just painted it and hung it up. So it's hard to know. Yeah. Good. All right, well, there's food, there's paintings to buy, there's people to visit. I'm so thankful that you all came out to witness this. Bruce?
If someone wanted to make a donation or to buy a painting, what would the next steps be?
The next step would be to come talk to me. And we'll make a deal.
Isn't there an email address in there that's your email address they can bid online?
Yes, it's, got a pen? E. Von Ohlen, so my first initial last name, at Comcast.net.
And that's for donations too?
Yeah,
We can reach you and-
Yes, you can either donate or make a purchase. And Von Ohlen is spelled VONOHLEN. There you go. Thank you, Melanie.